Good afternoon. Oh, good evening, I guess. Thank you so much for joining us at the 23rd Annual XicanIndie FilmFest. My name is Molly Gallegos. I am so excited to have you here for our platica with the cast of In the Defense Against Tyranny. Real quick, I want to thank our XicanIndie contributors, KUVO 89.3 FM, Rocky Mountain PBS, the Consulate General of Mexico, and Media Arts Santa Ana. Just a couple reminders, don't forget to go check out the rest of our films. We have over 30 incredible films, I know because I've seen them all. If you just head over to www.suteatro.org, or we'll put a link in the chat so you can get to it real easily. And I want to remind you again about our summer internship. If you have a high school student or you are a high school student interested in a fast-paced yet fun and eventful summer experience, look no further than Su Teatro Summer Internship. Applications are open now until April 18th. Don't miss out. And I now am going to pass it over to Felicia Gallegos Perez. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Felicia Gallegos Perez, and welcome to our programming this evening. I have more announcements for you about all of the exciting happenings coming up at Su Teatro. Do you love homemade flour tortillas fresh off the comal? Would you love to know how to make them? Well, now's your chance. Su Teatro's Cultural Preservation Series will present a tortilla making class from the comfort of your own cocina, Sunday, May 16th at 11 a.m. You should be able to sign up for this event soon at our website, www.suteatro.org. But go ahead and save the date so that you could sign up for this event. Also, we want to let you know that the 7th ever WordFest and Artists of Color Summit is coming up. It kicks off next Friday, April 16th at 1 p.m. with a Film Producers Academy workshop given by our partners, Media Arts Santa Ana. Now, this year's festival will feature new work in progress by Artistic Director Anthony J. Garcia, The Sun Serpent by Jose Cruz Gonzalez, and some other very exciting events. So we hope you join us for that, because April is festival month with Su Teatro. So every April we have our XicanIndie FilmFest and our WordFest. So we have lots coming up for the rest of the month. I really want to thank our guests here with us this evening for our platica on In the Defense Against Tyranny. We have our executive artistic director here this evening facilitating the group, Anthony J. Garcia. And with us, our guests this evening are Randy Vasquez and Marilyn Sanabria from In the Defense Against Tyranny. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
Oh, it's great.
Thank you. We're really excited.
Well, you have much to be excited about and much to be proud of. Your film is so... well, I want you to talk about it, but I will just offer that I have there's a lot of questions, and timing is a piece of it, right? Because you finished it up, when you finished it up, what we were talking about. Just for the record, we always mention the guy who thought he won the election but really lost it and never really used the name. But you're welcome to. But if I say that, I think we'll all know who we're talking about. But it has tremendous relevance and it raises a really, really, really incredible question. I think as you're watching it, you're going, if I was in that position, what would I do? I think there's some legal reasons why we can't really answer that. But it really is, it's a really profound question. So maybe just talk to me, maybe you can do some little background if you want to before we get started. I do remember you, Randy, from your other time when you were you had a documentary at the film festival, and I do remember your work on JAG. Is that correct? And I do remember that you're a lot taller than me. And
it's my mother's side.
I thought we had a rule here that nobody could be more than. No, but it wasn't. And we're really glad to have you back. We'd love to have had you in Denver. And Marilyn, it's great to meet you. I appreciate the work that you guys have done so much. So wherever you want to start is good with me. You want to talk a little bit of background. Obviously, you hit some serious chords here. And maybe talk about your process, or just whatever you want to, everyone you want to use as a launching pad, and we can go from there.
Yeah, Tony, obviously, Felix Ramos, the director, is not feeling well tonight. So he would ideally be the guy to talk to, because he birthed this whole film and really fought hard. Your usual struggle to get funding for an independent film. And unfortunately, he's not here. So I know that he started writing this as a response to Trump being elected in 2016. I think it took him, oh God, I don't even want to quote, but maybe a year to write it, year and a half. I can't remember. He lives in Orange County here. And Felix is part Guatemalan and half Puerto Rican. And I know he lived in Chicago for a while, and then he settled in Southern California with his beautiful family. So that was his response. The movie is his response to the political climate of 2016. And do you want to throw anything in before?
Yeah, he was inspired by the times, and he really wanted to make it a point to interweave a personal story. Yeah. Felix is a very personal writer, director, and while he was inspired and very hurt at the climate of the world, he also wanted to make something different and unique to him and personal to him. So he was also, it was a personal inspiration, the Suarez family, and how to interweave that with the anxieties and all of the grief of the times.
The immigration is a personal theme, I know, for Felix, and obviously Mexican, Central American immigration, and the Trump policies targeted at that. And
yes, and how and basically the story of Frank Suarez, a man pretty much swallowed by his grief and dealing with many weaknesses, and how he has to gather strength from basically, the last portion of himself, if he wants to stand up to being authentic, to being not only an authentic citizen, but a father, and finally a husband, and a man true to himself. So it speaks a lot about, it's a very universal message, which is one of the reasons why I, as an actress, was very drawn to the story. I thought it was very beautiful, very unique, and a very delicate balance of what happened after 2016. So
I would imagine that over the course of him developing the film, and then you all getting involved, and then the shooting, is that the dynamics almost started to change on a month-to-month basis. Because I think one of the things that people feel right now, people are saying, I got to go to sleep and not worry about something crazy happening in the middle of the night, or what crazy stuff was going to happen the next day. But we were witnessing it on a moment-by-moment basis, right? How did that affect? I mean, I'm sure you're watching that as you're filming that, right? And you go, oh, we wrote that, we're acting that. Damn, we didn't think this was going to happen, and shit, it's happening. Is that?
Yeah, well,
you're
that
smiling
was
a lot because I think it may have happened, right?
That was actually really incredible. That when we were shooting, it was actually happening in real time, and I thought, my God, this is almost like a prophetic kind of small film, at the same time that it's a very poetic film. I thought it was pretty dead on with what was happening. So in that sense, it was very exciting to be part of something that was really current, and I speak for myself, but I know Randy is of the same thought. It was exciting to be part of the times as an actor, and I'm not just doing a film here, but I'm actually telling a story of now and what is happening in the world. So that was really exciting. That was great for me.
And also, I mean, I think we shot this. I just want to say we shot this in September of 2018 or 2019.
It was 2019. It was going to come right around. No, 2018. Yeah.
September of 2018, and I want to say this, that I haven't seen. It's the only film I know of, I mean, Hollywood film included, mainly included, that really went after the Trump directly, that character directly, indirectly, the election and the. I mean, I don't know of any films like this, and it took an independent guy like Felix to really this attempt that he made at this. These symbolic characters, and it's unique in that way. And props to him for doing it, because I don't know of any other films other than a couple of parodies maybe on the Comedy Channel and Saturday Night Live that really went after this the Trump character.
And I'll add to that Felix's message and dream as an artist would be to unite the right and the left, and to show that in the end, we really, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, the answer is really love. And if we don't take care of one another, if we don't fix the divide, there is a bigger problem at hand. And without going into politics, and I am blue, but I don't think what we had was even a Republican. I think what we had was a monster. So to unite the right and the left would be a very healthy, very progressive statement for the world. And not to say that there will be differences, but at least to unite in the humanity. That we were missing completely with the man that was president, because that to me was not human. That was something else.
I'm sorry, Randy, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I mean, I'm about to go off on how he contacted us. This is another story that talks more to the filmmaking adventure than the script itself. So if you want to say something before I get
I just was going to offer that this, because of the timeline, this is the first film, and I would agree with you, that comes out and starts to deconstruct what took place in a narrative form in real time.
Yeah.
Interesting that it happens you guys do this right before COVID, which creates another kind of world, but you guys are on the streets with this now before all the others are involved in it. So I want to just talk at some point. Let's talk Ibsen, because I think that's a great reference. There's some great elements in this, the torn personality between the torn world between what is a principle, what principle you're actually fighting for, and a human trying to work for the better, but being torn between two things that may not be the best possible things. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm talking about Henrik Ibsen. The plays like Enemy of the People. I could see elements of that contradiction. As people who are progressive, for the most part, we don't believe in murdering our enemies, our political enemies. But then when you're faced in that position, it's a great conundrum to place them in, and I think it's a great examination. So that's all I was going to do to wrap that up, and we can go back to the comments you were going to make, unless you want to reference what I just said.
No, I think it's wonderful. I'm not actually familiar with that play, but I think that I appreciate you bringing up a European 19th century, early 20th century famous great playwright like that, Enemy of the People. I think I read it many years ago. I can't remember I can't really reference it because I don't remember. But I think for me personally, in the creation process of this, for me personally, the word or the theme, the big one for me is assimilation, and Frank's Suarez's degree of assimilation, trying to fit in to the American dream, to the American success story, at the cost of the relationship with his wife, the relationship with his daughter, more importantly, in the film, and his own seeking of power from a little community-based political talk show to the big time, which he aspires to. And I know in my own personal life I've seen, and in my own life I've seen assimilation at work and the sacrifices you make when people come to this country to chase and pursue that American dream. I'm talking about my father, who came from Mexico primarily, and who wanted to be the all-American boy. So there was a lot that I could add to Frank, and I believe Frank wants to be the all-American boy, but he has a blind side, and that's shown in the film. I mean, it's more about that, Frank and his family, than about Frank and his political foes.
Yeah.
He really wants to reconcile with his daughter and and he wants his daughter to say, I don't know if this is a spoiler alert, but you know, fathers want their children to love them, and they want to return their love that they give to their children, and that's very difficult in families, as you know, as everyone knows. And that's at the core of the film, perhaps, that drives Frank to act the way that he does. I've also described this film as a political assassination genre. There's a few of those in Hollywood history. The Parallax View, Seconds. What's the other one with Frank Sinatra in the early 70s about the guy that's going to assassinate the president? So in that way, it's got some classic genre elements. But I think, speaking from me and Frank, that's what I wanted to bring to this conversation, was assimilation and how difficult it can be and the consequences. What would you like to say about Cassandra?
Well, to me, the film is a very wild, dark night of a poem. That's how I would describe this film. I loved my character Cassandra from the very first time that I saw a description of her, and I hadn't even read the script. And when I read it, I really loved her. The arc of this character going through the challenges that she goes through, and all of a sudden they're thrown on her one after the other. The challenge of realizing that, the betrayal of her husband, the challenge of realizing that, now she has a death sentence on her with her health, the challenge of realizing that her daughter might potentially grow up alone because she doesn't have her, she doesn't have the dad, and still to try to fix the pieces of her life at that last moment, and to try to, if you can say this, to try to die in peace and honorably and with strength, rather than be completely swallowed by her grief, which she was, in the beginning of the film. When we find Cassandra, she is already, I thought it was a very challenging character, because when we meet Cassandra, she is in the grief. She is, at the bottom, and she continues going lower and lower and lower, and then rises to the other side through death. So,
spoiler alert.
Yes. So, sorry.
No, it's okay. People should have seen the film already by the time they get onto this.
So for me, that was a very unique way to also understand a character, and for the writer to write a character that is only redeemed after death. I thought that was a challenge, and there was, for me, a profound beauty. I have a very strong relationship with death. I've had, many relatives that have passed on since I was very, very early on, very, very early in my life. So for me to understand that and to really go into that world was very challenging and very meaningful. So, you know, it was, and actually it was really funny because I'll tell this story. Randy was cast before I was cast, and then he told me, hey, there's this part in this film, and the director had already been talking to him, and they were kind of dancing around each other. It wasn't set yet, but they were in deep talks already, and so I sent in my stuff. I didn't say that I was I was with Randy. I didn't want to mix things, so I got a call for the audition, and I went and I auditioned, and Felix gave me the role, and it was the craziest thing, because it was very funny, because right when he said, okay, listen, you're it, I want you to play this role, I said, wow, thank you very much. And by the way, the Frank that you are talking to, that's actually my boyfriend. Just in case you were wondering about chemistry.
I thought the slapping scene seemed so natural.
It was very natural. I've done it many times. Very natural. Very natural.
My computer got stuck, and I must have seen it about 4 times in there. And I was like, man, she does it so well.
I had a ball when I was doing it.
Tony, Frank. I want to.
You're Frank.
Yeah, I want to dovetail on what Marilyn said as far as how this all started with us. I got an email. I got a message from Felix in the summer of 2018 saying he found me on the internet on Backstage, which is a casting magazine, internet magazine. And he said, I would like you to audition for this role. And I looked at the information, and there was no pay, and it was non-union. And so I wrote him back. I said, thank you so much for your consideration, but I can't do it. I can't afford to do this for free, and I can't do non-union work. Thank you very much. Good luck. But he didn't give up. He kept pursuing it. He said, please, I know you're he'd seen my demo reel, so he'd seen me working, and he says, no, you're right. You're perfect for this. Please consider it. And I said, I can't. You got to pay me for a lead like this. I can't do it for free. I'll be too pissed off, at you, because I'm not getting paid on the set. I'll be pissed, and it won't be good. And I can't do non-union. I can get in trouble for that. So he said, okay, I'll get back to you. Long story short, he made it. He went through the proper channels at the Screen Actors Guild, and he said, how much do you want? And I told him, and he says, okay, you got it. So I came into audition. I said, okay. I came into audition. I read the script. I was going, what? I saw the material. I said, oh my God, this is excellent. I went in and I auditioned. And I saw the breakdown, and I saw Marilyn's character, my wife, and I said, whoa, you should submit for this. You're perfect for this. She did. She got an audition as well. And like she said, she got cast, and we were in the waiting room ready to go in. She went in before I did. And I said, don't tell him. We agreed together. Don't tell him we're partners. We're together. And so she went in, she got it. She didn't say anything. I went in, I auditioned. And when he offered me the role, I think I said, listen, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, so hopefully that'll help. So that's kind of the story of us coming to this film, me coming to this film. Yeah. It wasn't happening at first because as good as the role was as an actor, we have to get compensation for such a role as this. And the whole union thing. I mean, it made Felix kind of step up his game, and it worked out. And we did our best in filming. We started a few weeks later, and I got some coaching on the role. I went to a really good acting teacher and went over the scenes and got, went back and forth on some ideas and what we thought the themes were, and et cetera. And in fact, she wanted to use some of the scenes in the script in her acting class. She liked them so much. I think it's probably the scenes with us and the scene with the Trump character at the end, that climactic scene. So I just wanted to tell the story of how we got involved. It's funny, we laugh at it now, but that's sometimes how it can happen.
And it was very fun. It was very fun working on it. And
Felix is a good man. He's got a good soul. We love him so much.
His family's beautiful.
Family. We filmed at his house, and then in a small studio in Orange County, and other locations. But it was really great. It was quite a long process. It took us the whole summer to prep and be ready to go by September, which was great because we got really nice, good time to prepare the characters and go into that world, which is always good. You don't always get that time, so that was nice. And it's I want to mention Fernanda Moya, who played our daughter.
Wonderful actress.
I wish she could be here, but she really made those. You could see how good she was, and the attitude, the father-daughter, that rift that we had, that disconnect that we had. She really
made it easy.
Yeah, she was ready to go. She's a good actress.
She pulls a lot of stuff together. She's kind of like a hinge between the two of you. I mean, one is she's torn in between the loss of her mother and you not being there,
yes.
Sometimes needing to reconnect with you. I was going to offer just some feedback on the family conversation that we were having. I thought there's some really interesting showcasing or discussion, because I think there's a lot of things that we watch in films that are really conversations. They're not always just it's not always about just leading to the end of what's happening in that scene. And we see the commitment and the struggle of Latino parents, that a lot of times we see it, and it's the male is absent and the male is completely flawed and doesn't have that passion. But males in our community, in our families, are very, very, very committed for whatever reasons, the successes and the failures, and the power that women. I always make the joke that I'm always hearing. I used to hear these stories about these passive Latinas, and I never met one in my life. Yeah. And we learned. I think that there's a really interesting take, Marilyn, in your character, where her strength is really so much of an internal one, because physically she can't do the things physically in order to make those things happen. So she has to hold on to it, and it's in a very spiritual, internal way to have those, except for when she beats the hell out of him. It should be called Frank is beat the hell out of Frank Day in some ways, because everybody's pissed at you. I can relate to that so well. But I think that the conversation about the family and the desire for that next generation to succeed in this country, and the investment that we make into our children, and the fact that even if they're pushing up against us, that we know that's for the better, for the long term, because that's how we raised them to be. We raised your daughter to be a strong woman, and both of you comment on that. Even if she's so strong that she's kicking my butt, that's what she's there for.
Yeah, I believe that the film also speaks strongly about women's place in society and women's place in the family, and women's place in the future of our country, of the world, really. And that is embodied by her character and her struggle, and her need to be seen by the father, and she doesn't back down. She's relentless. She's relentless. She won't let him go until she makes him better. And and Cassandra makes him better. And not because we are better, but because our love opens up a part of himself that he doesn't want to open through the whole movie, and then finally at some point he does. So again, it's love, but these women are both very relentless, and Fernanda, taking that huge place, because she's alive and in his life, and she's the young generation, she's a young blood, so she's new, she's the new fierce force. So
she rejects any
conventions, really.
Any conventions, any excuses of the male not to be able to communicate in a way other than being angry and yelling and commanding and ordering, which is unfortunately the way that Frank knows how to communicate. And she's not putting up with it. Frank doesn't know how to deal with it until it's too late. He finally does. But that's what's good about the story. It's an extremely important character, the daughter, and it's because of her that Frank does what he does at the end.
Well, she leads him to his redemption, right?
Yes.
So you have elements of sacrifice and confession and I mean, it's a very spiritual journey too. Aside from this point where he sacrifices his life, he pushes that piece in there, but there is a redemption that is greater, and that's greater than the practical, which is a real complicated question too.
You can't do it without the female.
Yeah. Well, now I'm learning that my mother and my daughter have been making me better all this time, whether I wanted it or not, right?
Yeah, and I think that the film has a strong message about self-forgiveness, which is, I think, the hardest thing to do, for ourselves. And I mean, just the way that the many ways that we can be angry at ourselves for XYZ, and for Frank to actually be able to forgive himself at the end, and the way he does is very spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Felicia has some conversation from our other platforms, so let's have her step in and she can share with us.
Yes, well, we have one of our consistent attendees and supporters, Ted Wolverton, has a comment. Thank you, Ted, for joining us this evening. One term for the formal incumbent is malignant narcissist, all Caligula. Talk about bringing films to life. And he's also very happy that being able to meet the actors discussing this roles is a real treat. So he's very grateful for being able to put this question to you.
I wish that Felix was here to answer this, because he created this. But again, being Guatemalan, being Central American, being Caribbean, he has a lot of personal connection with immigration, and because the former incumbent was so anti-immigration and so anti-brown, that really motivated his writing of this script. I was going to say something else, but I lost my thought. Hang on a second. Bear with me. Bringing the film to life. That's what it is. I mean, this film only could have been made by a Guatemalan Puerto Rican from Chicago. The pain. I know that Felix. This story came out of so much pain. the persecution from the last administration. I mean, he was angry. And as we all know, behind all anger is all this pain. And being a creative that he is, I know he'd made short films. This was his first feature. He was a very intelligent man, a sensitive man, and he couldn't help but make this film. I know that Spike Lee is a big hero to him as far as a filmmaker. You know, Do the Right Thing is one of his. He always mentions Spike Lee and Do the Right Thing. The provocative nature of his films, and that's what he was trying to tell in this film. So, you know, we were just there trying to do our best to help him.
Yeah, we're just there trying to help him bring the story to life and tell him the story.
I know. Let's talk about Rick Ravanello, who played
Ash.
the antagonist, right? We'll
Wonderful actor. Wonderful.
Great job. Great guy. He was perfect casting. I thought he won one award at a festival.
Yeah.
I thought he should win many more. He was great to work with. I met him the morning of shooting that last scene, and he came right up to me and says, "Hey, how you doing, man? Hey, can we run lines? You know, let's." You know, he was just all about making it as great as he could, and it was a pleasure working with him. And that film doesn't work without him. And you can see what he does. I mean, I know that Felix worked on his character a lot. He wanted to make him human because of the balance he wanted to create with the left and the right, and you know, no more left and right. We got to be one. We got to come together. So he wanted to humanize that character because that's how the world works. There's a lot of gray involved, and I'm hoping that we're getting close to Ted's an answer to Ted's question.
This is a general comment. I think you're good. Ted's a really sharp guy. He comes to a lot of our stuff, and he always has these profound. He gets very, very intellectually engaged in the pieces, and that's fine.
Well,
I wanted to follow up. I'm glad you brought up the character. I found him to be significantly more charismatic and articulate than the guy who thought he was elected president but really was not, which made it even more frightening.
Yeah.
Because it opens up the door for the future to go and say, what happens when the next guy comes down the pike who's not in his mid-70s, significantly uninterested, you know, not great to look at, and not very intellectual or articulate. I mean, the fact that this guy could hit the notes on all of that stuff. I've been watching the series on, I guess it was HBO, about QAnon, and it's how that guy could be perceived as this with all the charismatic qualities he does. I didn't get it. This Ash's character is very, very charismatic. He's cruder and frightening, smarter. He's much more frightening. And it was like, to me, it was a projection into the future of the next guy that comes along is going to be 10 times worse than this guy. So it was a cautionary thing for me. That's what I took away. So that's the level of evilness that he brought to it. So that's powerful.
Yeah, he had so much charisma, and you know, and
yeah, when I think of Rick Ravanello, I think of charisma, actually.
Yeah, you could see him rallying all these people, and anyway, it was a. Let me offer one more thing, and then I'll let you make the last comments because we're close to time. So after a lot of the street stuff that was happening with the Black Lives Matter happening, with Su Teatro put out a statement on our position, and we didn't really want to. We struggled with this thing of the DEI stuff, you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how everybody's kind of come to that woke moment and stuff. For Su Teatro, we came out of the Chicano movement. We came out of a movement for social justice. Those are the core values of what we have. And so we wrote a statement, and the statement said, part of it said, it's not going to be young guys in shaved heads or old white guys in red caps that save this country. It's going to be those immigrants who've come here and worked to build here their homes here. It's the people of color who've sacrificed so much. It's all the people on the marginal end. And I think that your film articulates this message quite a bit, because if you look at what actually took place in that election, in Colorado, in Arizona, in New Mexico, it was our community that changed the dynamics here, that made it so solid that they could focus in on some of the other states and some of the places where they have to do the work. So it was us. We did our job in saving the country, and I think that's what your film says, and that to me is really a powerful message to send out.
Well, we thank you for giving it the exposure, and it's hard to get a film like this out there with such a limited budget, and I'm hoping it becomes some sort of a cult classic. I don't know. It was difficult getting into film festivals, but we've had some angels that have helped us, and I appreciate XicanIndie showing Felix's film, and I hope that it catches fire as a result of your film festival.
Let us have another conversation, and we can have it afterwards. After we're able to open up, I have a 250-seat theater that we could screen your film in, and we can look at doing this down the road, and when we're able to put 250 people into that theater. It may be 6 to 9 months before I can do that, but I think it'll still be as relevant and as important as it is now.
Yeah, talk to Felix. Arrange that.
And then you guys can all come out, and you can, Hey, just one other thing. Tomorrow night we got this film out of Texas, so we got got raza on both ends here. It's called Truly Texas Mexican. So you should be able to get in with the links that you got in here, and you should check it out because it's about cooking, it's about food, if you like food, and it's really about our indigenous roots and the roles that that the indigenous history plays in our food. So it has a good political punch too, but it's really they spend the first time, and you should have food when you watch it because you'll suffer through it if you do not. So that's my pitch for that. So you're in, you can watch it, you'll dig it. We're gonna have a whole evening. There's a recipe you can cook and you can eat. I'll turn it back over to Felicia, and then hang on after we're done and we'll talk a little bit more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. It's really been a great treat having you both here, Randy and Marilyn. I appreciate it. We want to also remind people, like Tony said, we have a lot of events coming up, and we hope that you stay with us. Tomorrow, Saturday, April 10th at 2 p.m., we will be having a platica for our first series of Chones 1. And then at 4:30, we will have another platica for our Chones 2. So we have two groups of shorts that we hope you can check out and join us for the platica to talk with all of those filmmakers. It's going to be a real treat and a very diverse conversation, I'm sure. Also, there'll be Truly Texas Mexican at 6 p.m., cooking and film screening, as well as a platica with chef and food writer Adan Medrano at 9 p.m. So make sure you check out all of our upcoming events coming past April, past our WordFest, as well as our cooking classes, our cultural preservation series. Now I will hand it back over to Molly Gallegos, who will close it out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I just want to remind you all one last time about our summer internship for your high school student. Get them out of your house and get them paid and having fun, and we love them. So head over to www.suteatro.org to find that application. It's due April 18th, so it's coming up. And then again, thank you so much to our XicanIndie collaborators, Cuvo 89.3 FM, Rocky Mountain PBS, Consulate General of Mexico, and Media Arts Santa Ana, who actually brought this film to us. So double thanks to them. And don't forget to go check out the rest of the films. You got a lot of films to watch between now and tomorrow, so get on it. Go to www.suteatro.org to find the information for that if you haven't registered yet. And thank you so much for joining us with this talk with the crew of, or the cast of In the Defense Against Tyranny. Thank you so much.
Thank you.